You know what sound that is, folks. You betcha. It's another Noon Whistle. I'm Chris Trottier, and back this week, Mr. John Anzalo. Missed last week. How you doing, John?
I'm good. Thanks for having me back. Say we got Ryan Mittelstaedt, Elkhorn High School cheer coach with us. We're going to talk all things cheer today. How are you, Ryan?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Good. Hey, maybe give our viewers a quick introduction of who is Ryan.
Sure. So I am Ryan Mittelstaedt. I am the head coach here at the high school. I also am a special education teacher here. And I am the coordinator of our new youth program that we started up this year in Elkhorn. I grew up in Waterford, Wisconsin, so I've been part of the Southern Lakes Conference for a long time. Then I went to college at UW-La Crosse and came back after I graduated. So I've been around the area ever since.
Nice. So you're the coach for high school cheer.
Yep.
You also started something new this year.
Yes, our youth program. We saw a lot of interest at our youth clinics that we would have twice a year, usually in the fall, and then they would perform at a football game, and then in the winter and maybe do a basketball game. And the numbers were so high, we saw that there was interest and a need for that. So we started that up this year. For our sideline season, we had 48 girls that were signed up, and they cheered at the youth football games here at home. And then for our competition season, which we just started, we also have 46 girls. So throughout different age levels. So we're pretty excited about that, especially for our first year.
So your forecast was spot on because I know your youth numbers are huge, right?
Yeah.
And what ages is that between?
So we had, for sideline season, we had 3 teams. We had first and second grade that cheered together because that aligned with the youth football. And then we had a 3rd and 4th grade team. And then we had a 5th through 8th grade team. Those numbers were a little smaller. So we combined that team, and then they would rotate and cheer at some 5th grade, some 6th grade, some 7th and 8th grade games. And then for competition, it's pretty similar, but the divisions for competition are a little bit different. So we have what we call our lower elementary. So that's going to be primarily our 1st and 2nd grade kids. We've got upper elementary, which can go from 1st up to 4th grade. So we have a couple of our younger kids on that team. And then we have what we call our middle school rec team, which is more of that like 4th, 5th through 8th grade team.
So Ryan, for just in case the viewers don't know, and I don't know how they wouldn't know this if they follow you on social media, but what kind of kid gravitates towards the sideline versus the competition cheer? And talk a little bit about, I think the differences are implied in the title. Yes. Talk a little bit about it, the type of kid who gravitates towards that, the level of commitment that comes with that.
For sure. Yeah. So our sideline program, whether it's through the youth program or high school, they cheer just at those sideline games. So we still train as athletes, but we focus more on those sideline cheers, the callback, the interaction with the fans, getting the players hype. A lot of our focus, especially at the high school level, is cheering on those boys out on the field. And then getting the crowd to support that back too. So our focus during sideline is what can we do to promote spirit within the stands and for youth with our parents to support the football players. That's our role, is to cheer them on. And then we look at competition season. That's more of our time to showcase our skills. So the competition routines are compilation of a cheer, but also there's dance in there, there's jumps in there, there's tumble in there, and obviously our stunts. And we put it to a 2-minute and 30-second routine, jam pack it all in, put it to some music, and that's all about showcasing and competing against other cheer teams to show kind of those skills. So we're not really leading a crowd at that point. So you tend to see those that like to maybe do it all, dance, stunt, and tumble, do the competition. And those who kind of just like to be part of the school and lead their team tend to do the sideline. I will say most of our athletes on both youth and high school that did sideline carry over into competition because their love of cheer just grows as they do it. But that's kind of the differences between the two. Yeah.
So last year, if I remember right, you guys at the high school level for the competition were second in state. Is that correct?
Yes, both our JV and our varsity teams took second in our divisions respectively. In high school cheer, you've got a couple of different divisions. You've got your traditional, which involves the tumbling. You've got a non-tumble division. You've got a game day division and things like that. So our JV team, they were in the JV non-tumble division. They took second place at state there. And then our varsity team was also in the non-tumble division, taking second place. And we also made a little bit of Elkhorn cheer history. We had put in a game day routine as well. So varsity took 2 routines to state and qualified for state finals in that game day routine for the first time ever. We had never qualified in game day before. So that was a huge accomplishment.
So I don't know if you've heard about the Noon Whistle. We have a tumbling duo. Have you heard of us? We were 4th in state last year.
Yeah, we were.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, and then 6 weeks in traction. Yeah, it's okay. I mean,
Overworked it a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Ryan, tell me. So you're in your second year at Elkhorn.
Correct. Yes.
So but talk a little bit about your role in promoting the sport besides just what you do with our kids and how you're an advocate for engaging and providing opportunity and access for all kids. Talk a little bit about like your advocacy outside of the Elkhorn walls.
Yeah, I mean, I think to be a well-rounded program and to have the buy-in from your athletes and to build your program, we do lots of different activities to build that up. We focus not only on the physical aspect of cheer, which I think sometimes people don't really realize that what these girls do in the gym every day at practice, but we focus on the mental piece too and building them up. Our primary goal is that when they leave us someday, that they have a lot of skills that they can take over into adulthood and apply. And my greatest accomplishment as a coach is when I have alumni reach back out that, are still connected. I have athletes that I coached 16 years ago that will still send pictures of, their little babies and connect, or every once in a while say, hey, coach, I remember you telling me this. So I think those are the greatest rewards. And we like to highlight that on our social media. For example, we do little things like we try and tie in our 6Cs with our athletic department. So each week we have the athletes vote. It's a team-led vote for our high school team. We pick one C word of the week, and then all the athletes vote all week. And then whoever wins, we get a little trophy. We post it on social media. We like to highlight those strengths too, because sometimes you might have those athletes that feel like they're not as physically capable as some of their teammates. So it's a good way to highlight those other strengths that they can provide to the team as well. We also do what we call our purple laces, and there's no set criteria for that. But when they've exhibited something, whether they've stood out as a good teammate or they've obtained a skill, maybe something was really difficult for them and they finally achieved it, then they earn those purple laces. We take their picture, we highlight it, things like that. We like to kind of promote those other skills, and we're all about mindfulness and positive mental imagery and things like that. Because those are some key components that I've seen over the years that as I've started to implement those in my coaching, it makes a big impact on the athletes.
Well, it's no secret, Ryan, that, maybe it is to others. I don't know. It's not to us, but you put in an enormous amount of time and effort, and you pour your heart into this. And obviously, like, that shows with the number of kids you have involved, the number of youth kids getting involved. So congrats to you. I mean, you really, you put in a lot of time in a lot of different ways versus just coaching.
Yeah. It's not just the time in the gym, which I love to do, but it's also the time, outside of the gym too. So it all comes together.
Yeah.
I raised my hand. Did you see that?
I see that. Thank you, Chris.
Noon Whistle first.
Appreciate that.
Did you know that Ryan was the 2021 Coach of the Year in the state of Wisconsin?
I did hear that. Now that you say that, 2021.
Yep, 2021.
Wow, we're in the midst of greatness.
Yes,
we are.
Greatness. I think this might be the first Coach of the Year we've had on this program.
I think it is. It is for sure. I think it is.
Well, yeah. So now, after those years, you got to live up to that title, right? You can't let it slack now moving forward.
You set the bar, now you got to keep it.
That's right. That's right.
So Ryan, we know that, both of us, John and I are well aware of what the athletic department is trying to accomplish around those 6 C's.
Yes.
And, having coaches culture meetings.
Yeah.
That's a mouthful. Every month, I believe it is.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit, like, as an experienced, successful head coach, if you're speaking to a new coach, it doesn't matter. I mean, obviously you know your particular content in sport,
right,
and the skills that come with it, but just what would you recommend to any coach who wanted to get involved and develop a program? Like, what are some of your key recommendations as an experienced, successful coach?
Well, I think the biggest thing is developing that relationship with your athletes. Like, they have to be able to trust you and know that you feel that they have value and worth, so that you get the buy-in. They tend to work harder when you do that. So I think the biggest thing is that relationship piece, to build that, and then that trust. I'm very mindful about what I say and how I say it to them. And I try and tailor the skills around each individual athlete, which is sometimes hard as a coach, right? Because you have a team full of all these different personalities. But the more ways that you can find that, and I dig deep into that tends to make it a little bit more successful. And at the end of the day, we use a lot of common language between our coaching staff, whether it's at the high school level or the youth level. Our big word that you might see us push out a lot is chamly, which means our cheer family, because that's what we view ourselves as. We're a family. We might have a hard practice and we might have an off day, but at the end of the day, we're chamly, and we have a little team break that we do, that we never leave the gym. We always say we will never leave the gym without saying goodbye to each other. And we say that mantra after each and every practice or each or everything, because it just brings us all together. It makes everybody feel supported and feel like they have their role. And I just find little ways to highlight the athletes, like I said, through some of those incentives as we do. If I notice that an athlete had an off day, I might, send them a little card through the high school mail system, or shoot them a little text, just those little ways that you can find. If I notice an athlete is struggling with a particular skill, I might bring in, former alumni, or bring in other resources. I might send them a video of someone else doing it and break it down for them. But always trying to find ways to encourage them first, and being very, very mindful of that. We still push them. They're still athletes, and it's just finding that good balance of how hard do you push, but also support and encourage and love them too. They're a big part of who I am day in and day out, because I'm with them so much. But like I said, I've got so many alumni that I'm, extremely close with, that
Sure.
Even all these years later, they're still part of my world.
When you do coaching, right, you do develop relationships and connections, and that's the key, I think.
Yeah.
So Ryan, looking, you started your youth program, but I know that as an experienced, successful coach, you're always looking ahead. In just about 1 minute or so, tell us a little bit, like, where do you want to be in 2 to 3 to 5 years? Like, what are some things that you see that are those kind of stretch North Star goals for your program?
Yeah, so I think at the youth level, we'd like to continue to build that. See if we can grow the teams a little bit, so we can get an individual grade level, like a first grade team, a second grade, so we're not having to combine some, and just get that involvement out there, because someday those are going to be our future high school kids, and we want to continue to build the relationship between the high school and the youth program, have some of those mentorships, maybe like a big sis, little sis type program, maybe incorporate for that youth team, cheering at some of the youth basketball games and things like that, and increasing the competitions. This year for youth, we're just doing 3 local competitions, but hopefully next year to build and expand and do more. At the high school level, of course, we're always about, trying to get that win, trying to bring home that state title. One thing that I've never had, I've had state titles as a coach before. I've never had the SLC conference title, although I've coached in the conference now for many, many years. So, our high school teams are shooting for that conference win.
Nice.
That's always something out there, but just to continue to grow the program, get the numbers up, develop the love of cheer and the investment in it, is kind of the ultimate goal. taking on a new thing this year, February 10th. We're hosting our own competition here at Elkhorn for the first time. So that's kind of pushing us out of our limits a little bit. And just continue to grow and develop. In a couple, next week, Friday, we're taking 10 athletes to the WACPC Fall Conference so they can continue to build their development and skills. I'll be actually speaking at one of the breakout sessions there, talking about our fan camp and working with John Handel and kind of the 60s and how we incorporate
Nice.
that. So that's exciting for, to get them involved with that too.
That's great. That's great. Well, we're at about the end of the time. And I just wanted to say, you did mention you've been coaching the SLC.
Yes.
For a long time.
Yeah.
But your best years have been at Elkhorn, right?
Oh, for sure. Yes, definitely.
I mean, your best AD, your best administrative team, right? I mean,
for sure. Yes. No, and I appreciate, I appreciate it here. I think that, the girls sometimes ask me that, like, what's the differences you see, and you have your differences, but you know where your heart is. And right now my heart lies in Elkhorn. I see myself here for a really long time, probably retiring here as a teacher. And who knows, I always say someday I'll retire from coaching, but I can't give you a date because they always joke that I'm going to be, with my walker out there still.
There you go. Well, that brings us down. Great job, Ryan. And we always like to close with thank yous and shout outs. So Ryan, any thank yous and shout outs you want to mention here on Walworth County's most popular live stream podcast?
Yeah, for sure. I think first shouting out to both my youth coaches, Noelle and Maddie, but also my assistant coaches at the high school, Nicole and Annabelle. I couldn't do it without them. But also I think John Handel too for the support that he gives to the cheer program and treats us as a respectable sports team and helps develop that growth too. So thanks.
Awesome. John, who do you got today?
Hey, we have been really busy with activities on the weekends over the last month, and I am going to shout out to some of our maintenance and custodial staff.
Oh, I like it.
Tomas, Jason, Eric, and Bill are amazing with all they do and stepping up to help out so that we can host all these community events. So thanks to them.
I'm going to give a shout out. As a school district and as a conference, we're always trying to create an unbelievable experience for coaches and kids. And I'm going to give a shout out to the Cotton Exchange in Waterford. They always host our conference end of the year fall season award ceremony. They serve an unbelievable chicken cordon bleu and beef tips that everybody loves. And they probably do it for cheaper than they should, but they always create an amazing experience and everybody remembers that. So thank you to the owners of the Cotton Exchange for always thinking about the kids in the conference. And on that note, Ryan, we thank you. John, well done. Glad to have you back.
Good to be back.
Thank you.
For all you loyal listeners out there, we're always looking for additional people to be on the Noon Whistle. If you know somebody, send them our way. But on that note, it's time to go back to work. And you know what the sound is for that.
Go Fight Win.